Just a quick update, the Patreon page is now live. The link will be down below if you want to check it out. You'll have access to all of my betting packages and much more. Thanks again for all the support, but for now, let's get into the video.
Yo, what up, guys? We're back. It's going to be for UFC 262, Oliveira versus Chandler. One of the best cards of the year for sure. The main card, just the whole fight card's pretty sick overall. A lot of great fights, so definitely excited to break it down. And just like last week, I'm going to have the same goal again, 300 likes. So, make sure to hit that like button and, comment down below. Tell me everything, what you think about the fight card and everything about that. I want to, get some nice interaction going with you guys for this card, and I do think it's a pretty good card. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of opinions on different fights. There's some closely lined fights, but we're going to get right into it. It's Sean Soriano versus Christos Giagos in the first fight. This is a short notice fight for Sean Soriano. He was 7-0 the last time he got to the UFC. He actually is making his return to the UFC, but he flamed out. He went 0-3, got cut. He was only 25 years old at that time, so now returning at 31. He's at Sanford MMA. I assume he has a lot more confidence. He's going to be ready to go on a run, and he's going to compete at lightweight for this fight. I assume he's going to drop back down to featherweight after this, since getting cut, he went 6-3. But he's 5-1 in his last 6 fights, so recently he's been doing very well, mostly at featherweight. But this fight, like I said, it's going to be at lightweight, and he's a very good technical striker. When he can keep it pretty free-flowing, very hard guy to deal with. He's super fast, really good jab. He keeps fighters on the outside with real good jabs, hard calf kicks, and really fast hands. He has nice counters down the middle. He does a good job of lowering his level, giving different angles. He'll go to the body, back up to the head. Really fast fast combinations, good output. He picks his shots pretty well. He ends a lot of his combinations with leg kicks or high kicks, so does a good job mixing in the kicks. He's a great kicker as well. And since he moved to Sanford MMA, his striking, just his overall confidence and everything has really leveled up. I do think he's one of the better strikers in the UFC 145-pound division. Sometimes he can look a little bit hesitant when he gets pressured. He can get hit a little bit. His head movement could be a little bit better. But he's been able to show his power and precision recently. He got a knockout a little under 2 months ago, and he's actually gotten 3 knockouts in his last 6 fights. He has 7 knockouts overall, and he's only been finished once by strikes, but it was ground and pound. It wasn't like he got knocked out. And that's something that I've actually been pretty impressed with Soriano as well. He's really improved his grappling. He's always had good offensive grappling. He has good body lock takedowns. He has good knees, good elbows in the clinch. He's very dangerous there. He did get a point taken in a recent fight for landing a couple low blows in the clinch. He was still able to get a decision win, but sometimes he can maybe make some mistakes there with breaking the rules. But he has gotten better with his top control. He was able to out grapple Jose Mariscal, who's a guy that has a win over Pat Sabatini, has a win over Yusuf Salah, out wrestling them, and we saw Sean Soriano go in there. He was able to reverse all of Jose's takedown attempts. He was able to take down Jose himself. Had pretty good back takes in that fight. He has pretty good back takes overall. He has a couple rear naked chokes. His top control, in a lot of his fights hasn't been the best. But like I said, it does look like it's getting better. And I do think that, if he can get on top of a tired Giagos, he should be able to control him. Soriano's fight IQ to me is could be a little bit better, because he can be winning the striking, just decide to grapple. His defensive wrestling can be a little bit better as well. He seems like when you put him on his back, he does give his back to stand up, and he's been submitted 3 times with rear naked chokes. So that's something that has been continuous in his career, and something that he always makes that mistake. But he could correct that. It seems like in his last time that he got caught against Bruce Boyington, he was facing kind of a journeyman type of guy. He was dominating the fight. And I feel like he just thought he could give his back and stand up. He didn't really feel like the guy presented much danger. But, he got choked out, unfortunately, and it was rough for him. It probably showed once again, he can't do that. So hopefully he comes in a little bit sharper. If he gets taken down, he can work back up to his feet safely. And his cardio may be a bit questionable here. He is up a weight class. He's gotten tired in certain grappling heavy fights in the past. But his opponent, Christos Giagos, isn't known as a cardio guy himself. And Giagos, he's going to have a lot more experience in the UFC. This is going to be his 9th UFC fight. He's had some experience being in Soriano's shoes as well. He went 1-2 in his first stint with the UFC. He got cut. but he's made the most of his second chance. He doesn't have a great record. He's 3-2, but he's won 3 of his last 4 fights, and his 2 losses have come against Charles Oliveira and Jacare Close. Obviously Oliveira's fighting for the belt. Jacare Close is in and around that top 15, so nothing to frown at there. And he was expecting to face Joel Alvarez, but if he can defeat Soriano, it's possible he could just bypass that and get a bigger name next time out. And he's a solid striker. He is pretty good in and out movement. He's a good athlete. He likes to attack with a lot of 1-2s, 3-2s, 2-3s. He'll throw that rear uppercut to left hook combo. He likes the left hook to the body than the straight right up top. To me, he's definitely more dangerous early before he slows down. But at least early on, he definitely has power in that right hand. He can drop guys with that straight or overhand right. And he has pretty good front kicks to the body. He'll go up to the head with some high kicks. And, he's good at using body shots to set up takedowns. His chin is pretty good as well, but he does drop his hands a little bit. He can overextend a little bit on his punches. Doesn't really like to be in the pocket. He more likes to, pot shot from the outside, use feints, and then walk guys into takedowns. And he has 7 knockouts himself. But he likes to mix it up, and his last couple wins, they've all been through, heavy top control type of game plans. He likes to close the distance. He has a pretty good double leg, good body locks, good knees in the clinch, and he landed some pretty good singles in his last fight as well. So he has a pretty well-rounded takedown game. On top, he could be better. He, looks to just control, land short punches. He will posture up those short elbows. I've seen him get a couple rear naked chokes, which is obviously something that I said Soriano has some issues with, and he's been able to grind out his last couple wins. He got, several singles, doubles, and was able to just kind of lay on top of them. He doesn't really have a dangerous top game. His takedown defense is pretty good. He has a good sprawl. He's hard to get in on, and when he does get taken down, he will create scrambles, get back up to his feet. So, he's pretty solid with that, but he has that same tendency as Sean Soriano to give his back when he stands up. He's been submitted by a rear naked choke 4 times. And, he did do a better job of controlling and dominating Carlton Minus. But, he only has 3 submissions. He isn't a big finisher on the ground. His jiu-jitsu isn't that great, in my opinion. And, I don't know if he's going to be able to just control a guy like Sean Soriano on the mat. Also, I feel like his cardio has been an issue his entire career. I think this is a very close competitive fight, really. I'll be more confident in Soriano to win if he had a full camp, but I'm still going to pick him here. Giagos, he isn't a forward pressure guy, and even though he's a solid wrestler, he relies more on moving, making fighters frustrated, than level changing under them when they overextend or they're a little bit out of position. I feel like Soriano's going to, pressure him, force him to move backwards, but I don't think he's really going to overextend, give easy takedowns up. And if Giagos pressures into the takedown, I think that Soriano will be able to touch him up as he comes in, defend the takedowns. I'm a little bit worried about the fight IQ from Soriano and him not being able to get up or giving his back in a situation and getting submitted. But ultimately, I feel like he's the better fighter everywhere. The size is, something that could pose him some issues. Obviously, if Giagos can, put his weight on him early, maybe he could tire him out. But Giagos only has 3 subs in his career, so I don't really think he's a huge sub threat, even if Soriano exposes his back at some point in the fight. And I'm going to pick Sean Soriano to get the victory in this fight. I just feel like, a lot of these guys at Sanford MMA are talking him up. Seems like he came to the UFC a little bit too early in his career, but now he's gotten these well-rounded skills. I've seen him out-grapple guys that I feel like are good grapplers. I do feel like on the feet he's, kind of a level above Giagos. So I'm going to go with Sean Soriano in this one to show off his skill set and kind of re-announce himself in the UFC. But Tucker Lutz's grappling is what is going to win him fights in the UFC. He isn't a jiu-jitsu guy. He is a strong wrestler, good riding ability, and he showed that in his fight with Sherrod Blackledge. Against Chase Gibson, he didn't really shoot at all, but in the fight with Blackledge, there was a lot of grappling. Gibson, he did do a good job of kind of just keeping the range. But in the Sherrod Blackledge fight, they are both kind of trying to grapple. And Lutz does a good job of punching his way into the clinch. He works takedowns against the cage. When he backs fighters up behind the black lines, he will shoot in and hit good double legs. And Sherrod Blackledge early on gave Lutz issues with his length in the clinch. He was able to hit a couple trip takedowns, but Lutz showed good get-ups and eventually started to control the clinch, the wrestling, and he showed good grappling defense against Chase Gibson. He was able to defend a couple of takedowns. He used a wizard to reverse position, get into that wrestling ride that he likes to get into and work from there. And that's kind of what his objective is on the ground. He wants to get that wrestling ride position on the back, look to wrist ride, use his ground and pound, wear fighters up by mat returning them. He did actually lock in the body charm against Blackledge. He took full back, and he couldn't really do much with the position or keep it for very long. But he did, show that, sometimes he will look to take full back, look for rear naked chokes. And he did a good job of threatening with front chokes to, reverse takedowns, get on top. And, he did give his back against Chase Gibson, though. Chase Gibson was able to hit a switch on him in the third round. He threatened with the rear naked choke until the bell sounded. And the couple times, that Sherrod Blackledge took him down, though, he was able to work back up to his feet quickly. So it does seem like off of his back, he isn't totally lost. And in my opinion, in this fight with Kevin Aguilar, I doubt he's going to have to deal with many takedown attempts. I think it's going to be either him trying to wrestle or the fight's going to be on the feet. His last fight was a little bit of a different fight. But for Kevin Aguilar, 2020 was not kind to him. He went 0-2, and his win streak, extended to 3 in a row. So now he's just back against the wall. He needs a win on Saturday night, and I do expect Aguilar to be in a lot better shape than he was for his last fight in June. He accepted that fight on short notice, and for this fight, he's had a full 6-week training camp, and, should be in better shape, should look better physically. Prior to the 3 losses in a row, Aguilar was 17-1. He had some solid victories. So if he can get his mental right and come in shape, he has the skills to get some more wins in the UFC for sure. Aguilar is a technical striker. He has one-punch knockout power. He has no knockouts in the UFC, but he's finished some solid fighters like Damon Jackson, like Ton Lee. And he has 10 knockouts in his 17 wins. He likes to pressure forward. He has a good tight guard. He always has that right cross loaded to counter. He uses his jab a lot, and he'll double, triple jab his way into range for his straight right hand or his right hook. He likes to dig the right hook to the body. And he likes to throw jab to low kick combos. Every once in a while, he will switch it up, go head kick. He throws some nice 1-2s, 2-3s, and his counter uppercut is dangerous. His straight right hand is probably his most dangerous weapon. It's very nice. He can put you out with that. He has pretty good footwork, and he does a good job walking fighters into shots. So, he's a pretty good range striker. He does have a bit of a suspect chin. He's been put out twice in his career. I've seen him hurt in a lot of other fights, and he's going to try to use his wrestling to reverse in this fight, keep it on the feet. He's not a fighter who uses the clinch or will look for takedowns, really, but his takedown defense is very good. He was able to negate all 8 of Enrique Barrozola's takedowns. We all know how good of a wrestler that guy is. He's defended 87% of his takedowns in the UFC. He's only gotten taken down once against Dan Ige. And Aguilar was able to reverse one of Ige's takedowns, get on top. And when Aguilar got on top against Ige, he did threaten with the nice armbar. When Ige got on top of him, But he was able to threaten with a nice armbar off his back. He got a sweep, and he was actually showing pretty good stuff on the ground. So I do feel like actually Kevin Aguilar is better on the ground than Tucker Lutz. But the game plan for Tucker Lutz is to attack the low kicks, try to test the chin Aguilar, catch him in exchanges, keep a high pace and try to get your wrestling going. Aguilar, he needs to pressure behind feints, work the body, look for the straight right, left hook, and right uppercut. And if he could start to attack the body effectively, then he can maybe get Lutz to drop his hands and go up top. I don't really think that Lutz is going to be able to get takedowns, and I don't see him really trying to get them very hard. I think he's going to try to strike like he did against Chase Gibson. I think early on, Lutz is going to be careful, try to pressure, find his leg kicks, but not exchange a lot. For him to win, he either needs to clip the chin and hurt Aguilar, who maybe has a cracked chin, or just be able to tire him out and win with the volume. I think Aguilar is going to come in better shape, though. Probably be embarrassed at how he looked his last time out physically. And in this fight, Aguilar has way more experience. He's fought much higher level opponents. I think if he comes in there mentally right, he should be the sharper striker. Should be able to finesse Lutz from the outside. He hits hard, and Lutz is going to be facing the hardest puncher he's ever faced in Aguilar. I think he's going to maybe get hurt, and Aguilar's going to get his respect early, and then Lutz is going to kind of be in a defensive mode, or he's going to get finished by Aguilar. So I'm going to pick Kevin Aguilar to get back on track and get the victory in this one. And I wouldn't be surprised if he became the second person to knock out Tucker Lutz. So I'm going to go with Kevin Aguilar here. And in this next one, we got Gina Danger Mazany. She's going to be taking on Priscila Cachoeira. And, Gina Mazany, she went to her first camp with Gloria May in her last fight. It was her first fight at flyweight. And it wasn't without adversity, but she was able to get that third round finish over Rachel Ostovich. It was a pretty dominant performance. And, she's a grinder, and she did look better in her last fight, though. Her footwork and her in and out movement, I thought, was a little bit better. And she used to start a lot of her fights throwing like naked kicks that could get countered or kicks that could get caught, and she gets put in a clinch or taken down. But she started her last fight throwing more 1-2s. She was pressuring forward, and she was, doing, in my opinion, what she should have done her whole career. She threw some nice 3-2s. She has some power in her hands, and when she can back fighters up, she'll let the combinations go. Good elbows, good knees off the break, and obviously we saw her, hurt Ostovich with those front kicks to the body in her last fight. But Mazany still, she crashes forward into range. She doesn't really use a lot of fakes or feints to close the gap, and doesn't move her head either. So fighters can catch her as she tries to get in, and she has been finished by strikes in 2 of her last 4 losses. She's been finished 3 of her 7 wins by strikes herself. So, she does seem like she has some decent power. Mazany, she's a solid grappler. All of her wins have came through kind of grappling-oriented game plans. She was able to use her boxing to back up Rachel Ostovich, took her down, and when she gets on top, she does have good control, good ground and pound. She was able to control Rachel Ostovich on the ground for the most part, who, isn't a great fighter, but she is a decent grappler. And whenever Rachel Ostovich was able to get on top, Mazany was able to get back up to her feet pretty quickly. But she has struggled in other fights where she can't control the clinch. Her distance control and her shot selection, Mazany kind of always has her falling in the clinch, and she's just more comfortable in grappling fights. Even if she's losing, she doesn't really have the fight IQ to realize that, wrestling or grappling is not the way to go. We saw that, where she just got dominated in the clinch against Lena Landsberg. And then in other fights, against Macy Chiasson, against Julia Avila, she got hurt in the clinch and then finished off. So, she usually needs to be the better grappler in her fights to win. And I do feel like, in this fight, she does have that advantage, so that is good for her. Her cardio in her last fight, it did seem like she was a little bit shaky going into the second and third round, but she came out pretty hard. And I do feel like her cardio will probably be better, making the second cut to 125. But if anyone, is going to test your cardio, even if you don't respect their skill set, it's going to be Priscila Cachoeira. She's a dog. She's going to keep coming forward and, trying to put it on you. But, Priscila, she is what she is at this point. She's not a very skilled fighter. She's very aggressive. She will come forward with the jab, the 1-2, hard hooks, big uppercuts. She obviously had that big uppercut knockout in her last fight. She throws long, straight punch combinations. But no feints. I mean, she really just kind of, chin high, plods forward, wants to go to war. She is very durable, though. I mean, she's never been finished by strikes except for in her fight with Valentina Shevchenko. Or actually, never mind. That was actually a submission, too, I believe. So I don't think she's ever been finished by strikes. And she's not a good grappler, though. I mean, she doesn't really go for takedowns. On her back, she seems lost. She doesn't control posture. She'll allow opponents to posture up, land big elbows. She has an unbreakable will, though. I mean, Valentina Shevchenko was able to pass her guard easily, get in that crucifix, land big elbows, but she was always moving when the ref told her to move, and, she was always kind of just doing enough to stay in the fight. But she was almost armbarred against Molly McCann. Luana Carolina was able to, have some pretty good sweeps and attack submissions against Cachoeira as well. So if those type of girls are catching you in close subs, it does show that, you're pretty limited in your jiu-jitsu and on the ground. She is a girl that I don't think is going to be a tapper. I feel like she's someone that will definitely, take it all the way, maybe go out or, not be part of that quick tap club. But I do feel like if Gina can get it to the ground, she's going to have a big advantage. And, other than, Priscila in her last fight, landing a big bomb and knocking out Mazany, I kind of feel like Mazany's going to be able to get the fight to the ground, be the better skilled fighter here and get the win. She is going to be, a little bit bigger physically. If she can get on top, I do think she's going to be able to really dominate the fight. So I'm going to go with Mazany in this one, and I do think she's going to get it done. But, with her being lined as one of the biggest favorites on the card, I do think that, that is, I don't know if that's warranted, but I am going to pick Mazany here. And moving along here, we got Jamie Pickett taking on Jordan Wright. Jamie Pickett, he couldn't get the job done in his debut against Stefan and Chukwi. And he has a fantastic frame for the division. He's a pretty good athlete. He's 80-inch reach, and he tries to use his reach by working off his jab. He is a southpaw, so that's a different look as well. He'll try to use counter right hooks, good straight lefts, and he likes to work the 1-2s, and he will throw some 3-2s. He can close the gap with some long multi-punch combinations. We saw him finish off Al Matavo with like a 20-punch combo. It's pretty awesome. It is a little wild, but he's very explosive, fast, powerful when he lets his hands go. He can be very low volume, though. I mean, he overextends on that right hand. He holds his hands low as it is. And sometimes he just can't, he just doesn't let the pull the trigger. He just doesn't do anything. We saw that in his fight against, Stefan and Chukwi. He just didn't do that much in the fight. Even in his fight against Puna Soriano, it was kind of similar. One thing I will give Pickett credit for is he has elite durability, man. Puna Soriano has huge power, landed some bombs on Pickett. He ate them, against Stefan and Chukwi. He survived a head kick. But, Jamie Pickett, he doesn't really check kicks. His kicking defense overall to me seems weak, which could be an issue against a fighter like Jordan Wright. He holds his hands low, like you said, pulls back with his chin in the air. He always dips to the same side. And, he covers up, uses big movements to block shots. And to me, it seems like he doesn't really like being hit. He gets big reactions. And, that's something that a guy like Jordan Wright could read, eventually time a kick and knock him out or a knee. Pickett, gave up the center really the entire time against Stefan and Chukwi and Punahali Soriano and never really took a stand to win the fight. So in this fight, he has to do that, man. He has to, put his foot down and say either I'm going to get knocked out or I'm going to, go out here and put on a show, but I'm not going to fight, just to lose the fight. So he has to kind of prove that. But if one of the guys is going to mix it up and grapple, I see it being Jamie Pickett. If you watch Pickett's fight with Charles Byrd, he was struggling with the kicks of Byrd early, so he shot a double leg. He got the takedown, took the back, and when Byrd worked his way back up to the feet against the cage, he was able to mat return him a couple times. He really got no damage off when he got on top. It doesn't seem like he has the best top game. And when Charles Byrd was able to put Jamie Pickett on his back, it was a different story. Pickett was quickly put out with an arm triangle, and Punahali Soriano was able to take down Pickett pretty easily as well. You did see in his fight with Al Matavo, Matavo even was able to reverse a takedown, get on top of Pickett. So I don't really feel like his grappling is that high level. I do think he has the cardio advantage in this fight potentially. Both guys don't really go deep in fights. But Jordan Wright, he had a 0 taken in his last match. He got knocked out by Joaquin Buckley. And, now it's his third UFC fight, so he should be more comfortable, put his best foot forward against Pickett here. And Jordan Wright, to me, is going to be trying to use those rear leg attacks. He has a nice high kick. If he could set it up and catch Pickett dipping or leaning back, he can land it. To me, Wright has the way more dynamic kicking game. And, obviously he doesn't want to be in boxing range with Jamie Pickett. That's where he struggles a little bit. He doesn't really have the best defense in boxing range. He does a lot of covering up. He'll try to reach for the clinch. But in terms of the clinch, I actually think that Wright will be better in the clinch and be able to get that Muay Thai clinch go to work. I don't think Pickett will be able to hit takedowns. And if he does, I think that Wright will be able to reverse them. But I do feel like Pickett, if he blitzes him early or just lets his hands go, he could get it done. But I do think Wright has the overall better striking, footwork, grappling. I think he's the stronger fighter. And Pickett's going to need to pressure, try to force more boxing exchanges, let his hands go. I'm just not sure he's going to do that. Wright, he's going to be active with the straight punches, with the kicks. He's going to be trying to feint to draw out the bad defensive habits of Pickett. And I do feel like he's going to have a chance to catch him dipping with that high kick with the knee. When Pickett gets on the inside, he just needs to look to clinch up, work the knees there, work the elbows. I do believe that the volume edge is going to definitely be on the side of Jordan Wright. I just feel like when Pickett is, walking him down, not really doing much, or backing up, not really doing much, Jordan Wright, even if he's not landing some significant shots, he's going to be landing some flim-flam, some whatever, some little kicks, things like that. And I do feel like he's going to land the bigger shots as well, just be more active, more comfortable. I think he's better at range, and I don't really think Jamie Pickett's going to knock him out. So Pickett, obviously, I don't know if he's the better athlete, but I do feel like, if he just blitzes him, that's going to be his best chance to win, because we've seen Jordan Wright kind of struggle with that in the past, and Wright is a very tall, long, explosive type of guy, but, he just has too many lapses and too many lulls in his fights where he's not doing anything. I feel like, his kicking defense isn't up to par for a guy like Jordan Wright, so I don't like picking this guy. I can't believe I'm going to go with it, but I'm going with the Beverly Hills Ninja. I'm picking Jordan Wright to pick up the victory. In this next one, we got Andrea Lee taking on Antonina Shevchenko. And Antonina Shevchenko, she had an excellent performance in her last fight. She was able to exploit the bad grappling of Ariane Lipski, put a clinic on her, and this is a pivotal fight for Shevchenko. She's getting a chance to jump into that kind of top 10 of the rankings. She's 36 years old, so she needs to win the fight here to move, closer towards contention. And she does a good job of, working her left hooks and her straight shots at range, but she really doesn't have the best footwork. She, doesn't really do a good job keeping it long. So, I'm not the biggest fan of Antonina Shevchenko or her game. Her counter left hook isn't bad. She does throw some nice round kicks, front kicks to the body, to the head, but almost all of Antonina's fights end up in the clinch or being ground battles. And Antonina Shevchenko, has a questionable chin to me. She seemed to not take the shots the best, in certain fights. She got rocked a couple times against Ariane Lipski. She doesn't really have the best defense because she doesn't move her head. She stands very flat-footed, very traditional Muay Thai. And she's not a great grappler. She did look very good with her wrestling in Top Game against Ariane Lipski, but I think that's more on Lipski not being very good than anything else. She was able to hit it head and arm throws, some trips in the clinch, and she looks like she had some decent ground and pound from half guard, and she eventually got into that three-quarter mount and ended the fight. But she's been exposed a bit in dominating the grappling against Roxanne Modafferi, against Katlyn Chookagian. And the clinch, Shevchenko has some good weapons, from her Muay Thai days. She has a good frame for the division. She'll get that Muay Thai clinch. She has good height, good knees, good elbows. She did get hit with a couple big elbows herself against Lucy Pudilova. But her takedown defense to me is terrible. She's pretty flat-footed. She allows fighters to get into her hips pretty easily. Fighters can catch her kicks and get to the body lock. She backs straight up when fighters pressure her. I don't really think she reacts the best to forward pressure. Katlyn Chookagian was able to get the clinch against her extremely easily. And when you take Shevchenko down, she's just not very good off her back. She was able to create a couple scrambles, get on top against Roxanne Modafferi. She even got kind of like a sweep against Roxy at a certain point, but she got swept pretty quickly after. Against Chookagian, she was in constant danger on bottom. She didn't really do anything. She had no idea how to get out of the mount or the back mount. She did do a good job defending the choke. She showed a lot of toughness, but she had nothing for Katlyn on the ground. Zero hip movement. She looks completely lost when fighters pass her guard. Against Pudilova, she did threaten with an armbar in the first round, and when Pudilova went for a single, she was able to take the back at a rear naked choke. So, I do think she's dangerous when she can get into a dominant position. Obviously, she got into that three-quarter mount and finished off Lipski. But off her back, like you said, man, no hip movement, no, ability to try to get up. She just doesn't do much of anything. So I don't really like seeing that at all. And Andrea Lee, she's obviously fallen on very tough times. She, after being ranked as high as the top 5 in the division, she lost 3 fights in a row. Now she's not even in the top 10. And I don't think she would get cut with a loss here, but it's possible. 4 losses in a row. I doubt she would still be ranked. And, she is fighting at home here in Texas, Houston again. But, it's a thing where Andrea Lee, she's struggled here. She's lost 2 fights in Houston, Texas, so she needs to get over that hurdle in her mind as well. And Andrea Lee, she has good head movement and good distance control herself. She is going to be the girl with the longer reach in this fight. And I don't think her striking is even close to as good as Shevchenko's, but I do think, she can land, her left hook or straight right. She can maybe land some body shots, some leg kicks. She does have some nice front kicks to the body. She'll throw spinning kicks, good round kicks. And, she did struggle with the forward pressure of Carterwood. But I do feel like if she can go forward, she's going to be the girl that's more durable. She's never been finished by strikes. And I feel like she's going to be the better girl in the clinch. I think she could dominate the clinch in this fight. She has good knees to the body, good to the head. She can land trips, takedowns, head and arm throws. She's very good at getting that tight waist circle into the back, getting suplexes. And she has very heavy top game. I mean, she likes to pressure pass. She'll get the crucifix. She's a great back taker. So when she can out-grapple you, I mean, she's pretty good, man. And I do feel like in this fight, she's going to have that opportunity. I mean, you see her in certain fights and, against Roxanne Modafferi, against Lauren Murphy, where, she's getting out-grappled, she's getting taken down. But against Antonina Shevchenko, I feel like she's going to be the better clinch fighter. She's going to be way better in terms of the jiu-jitsu if she can get on top. If Antonina could take her down and get on top of her, I do feel like she could work her way back up to her feet, but that could be, potentially a bad spot for KGB. Cardio-wise, I do favor Antonina. So KGB, she has to come in better shape, be ready to do her thing, but I'm actually going to go with Andrea Lee. I don't really understand the line on this fight. I mean, they have Shevchenko almost 2-1 favorite, man, which to me is crazy. I mean, just because she out-grappled Ariane Lipsky that had no hit movement on bottom, that wasn't doing anything when she got taken down. I mean, KGB Lee, she, to me, she's a level above in terms of the grappling. The striking, I do think that Lipsky probably is better than Andrea Lee even, but the grappling is what I think is going to be the difference in this fight. I feel like people are way overrating Shevchenko's grappling because of her last performance, and I think that Andrea Lee is going to come in here and show, once again that, she's not her sister. She's definitely a work in progress. She's 36 years old. She's not going to get a ton better, in my opinion, and I think Andrea Lee is going to expose that and get the win, but yeah, I mean, in terms of this fight, you can't be super confident, really, in my opinion, because Andrea Lee, she's always been someone that kind of has been mentally, up and down. She's lost 3 fights in a row, and you don't know where her confidence level is at. So I think she's going to be able to get the win if she performs, and I'm going to pick her here. But this is a fight that, I don't have a real confident pick. Talk about no confidence predictions, man. Up here, Mike Grundy against Lando Vannata. Should be a fun fight to watch, but yeah, Mike Grundy, I mean, he's making his 3rd appearance in the UFC. He's had a year-long layoff. He had a broken jaw in his last fight, had a pretty bad performance, but he's supposed to face Nick Lentz. Unfortunately, he had to withdraw from that fight, and he's been kind of a pull-out merchant during his career. I mean, he's pulled out of 2 fights already in, like 2 years. Hopefully he can get to the octagon and show his skills against Vannata, but, I mean, Vannata, he's had an interesting career to say the least, right? He started off his career with the bang, against Tony Ferguson, and, he had that highlight reel KO against Sean McDessie, followed that up, and then since then, he's kind of just really been up and down. He's had weird draws, no consistency whatsoever, and he had a bad performance in his last fight. He kind of got dominated by Bobby Green. But, I mean, when you look at this fight, how it's going to go down, right, it's obviously a striker versus grappler matchup. Mike Grundy, his striking to me is not very good. He kind of just wings these big overhand rights. He has a nice left hook. He does a decent job of kind of disguising his striking with the level changes. But Lando Vannata, he's a really good striker, man. I mean, Lando Vannata, to me, offensive striking, he has some of the best offensive striking, I don't want to say in the UFC, but especially like, at 145, now the division that he's going to be at, which I do think, it's going to be something that we have to talk about a little bit. Lando Vannata, making the drop to featherweight. I do feel like he's always kind of been an undersized lightweight and could kind of, signify that he's going to be taking his career and, his lead up to the fights more serious because he's always been a guy that kind of is slowing down in fights as well. But Lando, I mean, I feel like offensively, man, his footwork, his in and out movement, his counters, his ability to, just be dynamic, spins, jumps, is, he has some of the best offensive striking in the UFC, but he just doesn't care about the defense, man. Hands down, never moves his chin, never moves his head. So it's like he's just right there to be hit. And, if you have a good jab like Bobby Green, I mean, you're going to dominate the guy because he's never going to move his head off center line. You could just jab him up and move out of the way. But Mike Grundy, I mean, he's obviously not going to be able to strike with this guy. He's going to get knocked out if he strikes with him, in my opinion. I mean, I feel like Lando is levels above. He's a counter guy. And, if he gets in the pocket with Mike Grundy and Mike Grundy starts swinging, he's going to be more precise and he's probably going to catch him and take him out. But, Mike Grundy's a guy that's a Olympic, I don't know if Olympic level, but very, very high level wrestler. He was on, the English national team for wrestling, and he's proven that, he was able to take down Movsar Evloev, I believe, 5 or 6 times. He had him in a pretty nice Darce. I do feel like kind of people overblow how close it was to the finish, but it was a very nice Darce and almost had that one. But Evloev, was able to kind of I think he got taken down 6 times. Yes, 6 times. But he was only controlled for 2 minutes and 36 seconds. So he kind of was able to scramble back up to his feet very quickly. Grundy on top, he likes to get into half guard or side control and, get the crucifix or either just land big shots from half guard. But he's more of a ground and pound guy. He doesn't really, have big submission threats other than the front chokes. His Darce is really nice, though. I mean, that's the one choke you do have to look out for. But Lando Vannata, I feel like people underrate this guy's grappling. He's been taken down in certain fights, but no one's really been able to hold him down. He has kind of that funky style. His nickname is Groovy, and, you'll see him hit rolls. Very hard to control. He has a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, and he's also a former college wrestler. So I feel like, certain fights he'll get taken down by guys like Mark Jacare, things like that, Matt returned and stuff. But like I said, no one's been able to really control him, and I think in certain matchups he's not really expecting to get taken down. This matchup he knows Mike Grundy's game plan is just going to be to wrestle, try to take him down, hold him on the ground, and that's his only path to victory, Mike Grundy. I don't think Mike Grundy, maybe he'll hit the Darce on Lando Vannata, but I kind of feel like that's not going to happen. I feel like Lando is a brown belt, like I said, he's a wrestler. He's going to be hard to submit with the Darce, so I feel like, Lando is probably going to be able to get the win in this one, but when I say that it's like the confidence level is so low, I usually pick against Lando all the time. But, at 145, he should, like I said, come in better shape. And I do think that that's one thing that I have to give him a little bit of credit with is he has came in better shape, in my opinion, in his last couple fights in the UFC. He's looked a little bit better in that third round. And early on in fights, he's very hard to control. When he gets tired, he did kind of accept bottom position against Jacare. But, he's active off his back, and I feel like in this fight, he's going to, try to get back up to his feet. He's going to want to close the distance, feint, pressure, boxing counters, touch him up with the straights, work his pull counters. And Grundy, like I said, did break his jaw in his last fight, so test that, threaten the knees, uppercuts to make Grundy hesitant to level change. And you should also try to attack low kicks. Grundy doesn't check low kicks. So also, I believe that, if he keeps the volume high on the feet in the second and the third round, he could maybe cook Grundy, break him, because Grundy did slow down pretty significantly himself in that fight against Movsar Evloev. So, this fight, in my opinion, it's just going to come down to one, where Lando's head's at when the fight starts, if he's, in the fight mentally or not in the fight mentally, because I think that's a big thing with Lando. And another thing is just, how good is Mike Grundy's wrestling in top pressure? If he could take down Lando, control him, then he's going to be able to do that. But if you watch his first fight against Nadarmani, he didn't really take him down at all. You watch his fight against Movsar Evloev, he had no top control time. A lot of his wins outside the UFC have been against lower level guys, so hasn't really shown the ability to take down and control anyone that I've seen. So to take down a guy, like I said, that has some credentials in the grappling realm in his own right, that's been used to fighting bigger guys, and that's never really been taken down and controlled in a multitude of UFC fights, only been submitted by Tony Ferguson in a fight where he took significant damage on the feet previous to that. So I believe that Lando is going to be the pick here for me, and I think he's going to either get it done by knockout or a decision where he kind of picks him apart on the feet. And in this next fight, we got Jacare Souza. Obviously, he's a legend, but he's nearing the end. He's 41 years old. He has 3 losses in a row. Needs a win here, man. And he's been fighting pretty high-level competition, but his last loss was pretty alarming. The way that he got knocked out against Kevin Holland. You see in Jacare, having a sick chin, one of the best chins in MMA, and to get knocked out, with shots off with the guy like on his back like that, it was kind of hard to watch. But this fight against Andre Muniz seems like more of a safe fight in terms of Jacare not having to worry about getting knocked out too much. But if his chin is gone, it's gone. It may not matter. And Andre Muniz, he's getting the opportunity of his life. He's set to show down with a legend, and he's won 6 fights in a row. He's 2-0 in the UFC, but he's not been fighting very good fighters. This is definitely the highest profile, most skilled opponent he's ever faced. And Muniz does have a very long reach. He's going to have a 6-inch reach advantage in this fight. And, on the feet, I believe Jacare is way, way better. Jacare, has, really gotten a little bit better with his guard, with his defense, and he has a really powerful right hook. He'll rip the body with really good shots and good front kicks to the body. His head kicks are pretty nice as well. So, he's definitely a pretty solid striker, whereas Andre Muniz, kind of pressure guy. He throws a nice left kick to the body, to the head, some long straights or hook punches, but it's all kind of just crash the distance into the clinch. He did kind of look like he dropped or maybe stunned Taylor Johnson a little bit with a left hook as he was trying to crash in a range, but doesn't really seem like he's a super dangerous striker. And Muniz, he's been finished by strikes 4 times. He's been knocked out pretty brutally like 3 times. So, in terms of who's more durable, it's kind of hard to say. I mean, I would say Jacare from the resumes, but obviously his last fight is, maybe something that's making me say maybe not. But Muniz, he's been knocked out brutally 3 times in his career. And in terms of the grappling, obviously, both these guys are elite level jiu-jitsu players, and they're kind of play different jiu-jitsu games where Jacare Souza is a top player, Andre Muniz plays more off of his back. So that might be an interesting clash here because Muniz, he has pretty decent wrestling, but I don't really think it's necessarily high level enough to take down a guy like Jacare. And he's more of a guard puller in a lot of his fights. He'll pull guard. I'm not sure if he's going to want to pull guard against Jacare or not. If he does, I just don't see him getting a submission off his back, which is the majority of his submissions. Triangles, arm bars. I don't really see him catching Jacare in an arm bar or a triangle. I don't see him sweeping Jacare. I feel like Jacare, he's only been submitted, I believe, 1 time ever in jiu-jitsu competition against Roger Gracie. He's never been submitted in MMA. And he's submitted some of the best in the world. He's gotten to decisions in jiu-jitsu with some of the best in the world. And, I just feel like, Jacare, if he gets on top, is going to be able to control the position and go to work. He may even get an arm triangle or get a submission on Andre Muniz. But I do feel like he'll be able to control, use ground and pound. And Muniz and Jacare's cardio and gas tanks have not looked very good recently. Muniz, man, if you watch his fight with Antonio Araujo, both those guys were sucking wind bad in that 3rd round. And Jacare, more recently, has really struggled, with the cardio. And some people may point to the fact that, Jacare did get taken down and controlled against Jack Hermanson. But I believe Jack Hermanson's wrestling is a lot more high level than Andre Muniz's. So I don't really necessarily see Muniz hitting takedowns. I think, obviously, if Jacare's chin is not there, maybe Muniz will come forward with one of these big flurries and land a punch, hurt him or something. I don't really see Muniz sweeping him or submitting him off of his back, though. So that takes away, in my opinion, Muniz's most dangerous weapons. I feel like Jacare, if he gets on top, he's going to be comfortable and actually be the guy winning the fight, whereas Muniz is more used to winning the fight even off of his back. So I'm going to give Jacare another chance here. I'm going to be picking Jacare to get the win. But, this is another one of these situations where we got a aging guy who's going up there and, we don't necessarily know how he's going to perform. This is a big, significant drop down in competition, even from Kevin Holland, in my opinion. It's a guy that is a jiu-jitsu guy, so obviously Jacare should be comfortable with that. That's not super dangerous on the feet. So I'm going to pick him here. I'm going to pick Jacare Souza to get the win. He seems motivated. I always feel like Jacare is a guy that comes in with a good mindset, high confidence. So I'm going to pick Jacare to get it done once again. In this next fight, we're kicking off the main card here. It should be a banger with Matt Schnell taking on Rogerio Bontorin. And, Matt Schnell, he's been in a good form recently. He did have that one loss to Pantoja, but showed off his skills in that fight. He even dropped Pantoja at one point. And, followed that up with his fight over Tyson Ammer. I thought he looked pretty solid. He's also, won 4 of his last 5 fights, so he's definitely looking good here. And we got Rogerio Bontorin, who's kind of on the other end of the spectrum. He's lost 2 in a row, so he needs a victory here, but, he is jumping in on short notice. Matt Schnell was actually supposed to fight Alex Perez. It was a big fight for him, so maybe a little bit of a letdown spot for Matt Schnell potentially. But I feel like Matt Schnell, is a guy that, he likes to fight. He's going to go in there. He's going to be turned on for anyone that he's going to go in there with. And, it's going to be an interesting fight because Bontorin obviously is going to be looking to grapple, get the fight to the ground. And Matt Schnell has kind of shown in the past that he doesn't really fight the takedowns too hard, and he doesn't really have the best takedown defense either way overall. So, Bontorin may be able to get some takedowns here, and Schnell is maybe going to try to play off of his back, use that guard game. He has really good triangles, really good arm bars. He's caught some high-level guys and some, things off bottom. So I do feel like he's definitely a dangerous guy off of his back, and Bontorin's going to have to be aware of that. But Bontorin's a guy that does a good job of, turning the corner, taking the back in the clinch, and really that's his main objective, to try to take the back, look for that rear naked choke, look for the control there. And his first couple UFC fights, he was able to do that. He was able to get into dominant position against Magomed Bibulatov. He took the back a couple times, controlled him from there, and even against against Raulian Paiva, I believe he got a takedown in that fight. But if you watch his fight with Kai Kara France, he got the back. He was very close to getting the finish, but then when he got up, it kind of showed his major deficiency is he doesn't really have great striking, doesn't have good striking defense, kind of boxy, no feints, no fakes, very plodding when he comes inside, flat-footed. And Matt Schnell's going to have a huge speed advantage. He's going to have a 5.5-inch reach advantage. He's going to be able to have a big boxing advantage, hand speed advantage. And Rogerio Bontorin just got knocked out in his last fight a couple months ago, so isn't taking a long time to return here. I do think it's an interesting fight because some of the things I said, whereas Matt Schnell, like I said in his previous fights, doesn't really fight the takedowns. And if Bontorin can get on top and Schnell's not used to that type of top pressure, or Bontorin can just, avoid the guard, take the back, or, get right into half guard side control when he gets on top, maybe he'll be able to kind of, go to work on top and, maybe finish Matt Schnell or dominate the fight. But I think that 5.5-inch reach advantage is going to be a big thing, along with the the fakes, the feints of Matt Schnell, the better footwork, the better boxing, and the speed, man. I think all that is going to play in Matt Schnell's favor. I think he's going to be able to keep the range, and on the feet, I really think he's going to dominate the fight. So I feel like Matt Schnell is going to be able to do enough to get it done. But this is another one where I feel like, Bontorin isn't a terrible underdog because, like I said, if he can get the fight into his world, which Matt Schnell sometimes allows fighters to do, maybe he could have some big success. But I'm actually going to side with the side of Matt Schnell. I think he's been fighting a little bit smarter recently. His fight against Tyson Nam was a dangerous one where he fought a guy that has big knockout power. He was able to avoid that, didn't get in a firefight, fought very smart. And that showed a lot of progression for Matt Schnell. So I'm going to go with Matt Schnell to get the W. In this next fight, we got a banger, man. We got Shane Burgos taking on Edson Barboza. This should be a war. This is a great matchup on paper, man. And kind of two guys that really like to strike, but they have different striking styles. With Edson Barboza, being more of a kicker, more of a guy that likes to stay at range, stick and move. Shane Burgos, he wants to get in your face, make it ugly, make it more of a pocket fight. And Burgos, he's used to being the much bigger guy at featherweight, having a big height and reach advantage. He has a big frame. He's one of the biggest featherweights in the division, but he's going to be going up against junior, man, Edson Barboza, who's the same height as him, same reach, essentially, and probably a little bit bigger, heavier on fight night. Obviously, Edson made his bones mostly at lightweight throughout his career, so I do feel like Edson is going to be able to give Shane a different look than what he's used to, match him in that kind of height, reach, capacity. And Burgos, he hasn't fought in a while. He's coming off that war with Josh Emmett where, very competitive fight, but I thought that Emmett clearly won. It was a super fight. It was one of the best fights of 2020. And Edson Barboza is coming off that dominant win over Makwan Amirkhani. Him and Shane Burgos have that win in common. And previous to that, Edson has some losses in, recent fights. Obviously, the one against Justin Gaethje was a legit loss. He got knocked out with the left hook. But his loss against Paul Felder and his loss against Dan Ige, both those losses are very, very questionable losses. Split decisions where a lot of people felt like Edson may have been on the wrong side of a bad decision in those fights. So, he could be on a 3-fight win streak currently. And, he's went to American Top Team. It seems like it's kind of reinvigorated him. He's looked great at 145 on the scales. In the fights, it doesn't seem like it's affected him whatsoever. So I feel like Edson is still kind of a player. He's an underrated guy in the division. And Burgos, he's going to be coming back trying to, prove that he's still around after the loss to Josh Emmett, that he's still kind of a guy in the mix. But for me, Shane Burgos, he has a good jab, and, he kind of does have his hands low, but he likes to kind of shoulder roll, slip and return with shots. He, does take a lot of punishment, though, man. I mean, he got dropped multiple times against Josh Emmett, got finished by Calvin Kattar, he got dropped against Kurt Hollabaugh. So, he definitely, as the damage meter is adding up for him, but, he's more of a counter guy. So he's not like someone that really goes first a lot. He will pick at you like with the jabs, with some straight shots. Maybe sometimes he'll mix in some inside leg kicks, some front kicks to the body. He doesn't really throw a lot of kicks, but he throws, poking, prodding shots to try to draw out, shots from you, and then he tries to kind of counter, like bop bop, with some, 1-2s. He'll counter with the uppercut, real good hooks to the body, then you'll go up top, and that's kind of his game. When you throw one, he likes to counter with 2, 3, 4, and kind of just outwork you, outvolume you. He's not a big power guy. He does have a couple of knockouts, and he was able to finish someone like Charles Rosa, stuff like that. But even his wins, I mean, he usually, when he gets knockouts, they're accumulated knockouts, like in the third round after he overwhelms guys with a lot of volume, stuff like that. He isn't like a one-shot guy like Edson, and he doesn't have that same level of speed, in my opinion. I mean, I do think he's the sharper boxer, and he's gonna have better counters in the pocket. But I don't think he has the same level of foot speed. I don't think he has the same level of hand speed, and I don't think that he has obviously the same kicking ability as a guy like Edson Barboza. And he's not a guy that mixes it up. I mean, Burgos isn't going to look to wrestle. He isn't going to try to grapple. It's going to be on the feet. So, Edson is in a fight that he likes. It's a good matchup for him in terms of that. It is a guy that likes to pressure, which Edson has kind of struggled with in the past, that forward pressure style, jamming his kicks, making him box more. But, like I said, Shane Burgos isn't a guy that is forward pressure and volume. He does throw volume, but he throws volume off the counter, where with Edson Barboza, I don't know if you want to let a guy like Edson go first and try to counter him because he's just so freaking fast, man. I mean, and the guy just throws with bad intentions. He has a real nice jab, brutal leg kicks, which I think are going to be, very, very good for him in this fight. And he was able to destroy the legs of body of Paul Felder, man, which Shane Burgos, his body is very available. He has a really nasty left hook. 1-2 is nasty. He'll throw that, left hook to the body or head and angle off. Really nasty switch kicks. I mean, he probably has the fastest kicks in MMA history, man. I mean, that spinning heel kick we saw against Terry Edom, I mean, I'm sure people talk about that a lot. And, he's very good at catching kicks and returning with low kicks. Obviously, his flying knees are very good. And he's good at using his boxing to counter, but, he tends to make mistakes, like I said, when he gets pressured heavy, and he's broken in fights before, but he's much more defense and kind of a little bit better. He showed a lot of toughness recently as well. I mean, if you look at the guys that have finished or put out Edson, I mean, Kevin Lee obviously got that finish, but it was a doctor stoppage, but, Justin Gaethje, obviously that guy has breaks for punches at 155, and then Jamie Varner. Those are the only two guys that have ever put out, Edson Barboza with strikes. I mean, obviously we've seen guys like, Tony Ferguson hurt him on the feet, Donald Cerrone hurt him on the feet, and then hit submissions, but they hit harder than Shane Burgos as well. They're up a weight class. I mean, both those guys have fought at 170. Shane Burgos isn't a big puncher even at, 145. So, I mean, unless he lands like a perfect counter, I just feel like, the speed of Edson and kind of just his striking style, wanting to be on the outside, stick and move is going to be effective, because I think that, Shane's going to be looking to come on the inside, maybe throw that jab or maybe throw, kind of like some probing shots, and Edson's just going to go boom, 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 land like 2, 3, 4, then get out of the way, man, move. I don't think Burgos is going to be able to keep up with the speed, and I think by the time that Edson's slowing down and Burgos is speeding up, Shane is just going to be too beat up, man, to the body, to the legs, maybe gotten dropped already, and I don't think he's going to have that same type of zip, the same type of pop. He may kind of make people a little bit worried if they're on the Edson side in that third round, putting the pressure on. Maybe he'll like even hurt Edson at one point and have the momentum, but I think that Edson's going to build up such a lead that it's just going to be, too much for Shane to overcome, and I just feel like Edson, is kind of overlooked, man. I think that a lot of people kind of wrote him off, especially when he decided to drop down to 145, but I feel like he's looked good in these 145 fights. I think, when you look at him matched up against a guy like Paul Felder, Dan Hooker, these guys that just want to strike with him, Beneil Dariush, Anthony Pettis, he's been able to outstrike a majority of these guys. There's not been many guys, besides Justin Gaethje, there's been basically no one, in a long time that's wanted to really strike with Edson Barboza that's gotten the finish on him. So I feel like Edson's going to come in here and just show that he's one of the best strikers in the world again and get another victory and, kind of move himself into the mix at 145. In this next fight, we got Katlyn Chookagian versus Viviane Araujo. When you have all these great fights, you got to put in a couple of ones like this, right? But, Katlyn Chookagian, I'm not a big fan of her fighting style necessarily. I mean, Araujo is more fun to watch, but Katlyn, she's won me a lot of money and won you guys a lot of money if you've been listening to me and, recently. So, I do like Katlyn Chookagian as a fighter, and, she's proved to everyone she's still a force to be reckoned with. I mean, she lost in the first round to Jessica Andrade. It seemed like a lot of people wrote her off. The odds makers wrote her off. I was shocked that she was underdog to Cynthia Calvillo, and she didn't perform like the underdog. She dominated Calvillo over 3 rounds, and after losing to Shevchenko, she's now kind of become that gatekeeper of the division. Like, if you want to get to Valentina, you have to go through Chookagian, and Viviane Araujo is looking to do just that. Get the biggest win of her career, make it 3 in a row in the UFC, and if she can get the win, like you said, there's not much separating her from a title shot. She's gonna have to pass the test of defeating a striker. If you look at her record, all of her wins are against grapplers, even in the UFC. And to me in this fight, Katlyn, she should try to be more kick-oriented potentially. She prefers to use her hands more in most of her fights, but in this one, I think she should try to, keep the range with her front kicks, work the leg kicks a little bit more. In terms of the hands, I would just say to work the jab, try to go forward and try to make Araujo work off the back foot, work combinations off the jab and stay high volume. I feel like even if Araujo starts to pressure heavy, don't be afraid to level change and get it to the ground. If she gets on top of Araujo, she's going to dominate the fight, in my opinion. Chookagian, she is an underrated grappler, in my opinion. She showed a glimpse of that against Antonina Shevchenko. She's a John Danaher black belt, and I'm sure she can do that to plenty of girls, but she just has to get the wrestling down to be able to get them down to the ground. She's usually one that has trouble getting leg kicked, Katlyn Chookagian, and I don't know if I really see her coming out with the kicking game plan. So I feel like she's going to need to use the forward pressure, jabs, maybe try the oblique kicks, the front kicks, keep the range, catch Araujo. She tries to close the gap and stick and move. Obviously that's what she likes to do. And she's going to have to deal with Vivi, though, who's going to have the speed, the firepower advantage. Araujo uses a lot more footwork, whereas Chookagian is not footwork, but kind of just movement in and out, bouncing, where Chookagian's a little bit more flat-footed. And I feel like she's going to be the fighter, at least early on, that's going to be landing the bigger, more eye-popping shots. She should have the same game plan, in my opinion, that she had against Montana De La Rosa, which is to look to work the low kicks early and often. Chookagian has really never checked kicks, and Araujo throws hard, heavy low kicks, and she has a fast hand speed, good 1-2s. She will loop punches. I would try to keep it straighter in this fight. Pressure behind feints. Sometimes she can pressure but not do much against Jessica I, and she can't do that here against Chookagian. She has to go first, not let Katlyn land or throw shots at air and get ahead on the numbers. I think Araujo is probably the more physical girl and the better wrestler, but I kind of doubt she's going to be comfortable on the ground with Chookagian. You could see even Jessica Andrade is not comfortable inside Chookagian's guard, and Araujo does slow down in fights. In the third round, she definitely is not as aggressive, so Chookagian has a pretty big cardio edge to me. I kind of feel like this fight's going to come down to what the judges like more. I mean, I see Araujo landing some hard low kicks, maybe doing some damage to Araujo's legs or to Katlyn's leg early, landing some hard punches. I think that Katlyn's going to be trying to keep the volume super high, though. And even if she's striking in the air, throwing strikes moving backwards, Araujo could pressure and do a lot of waiting, feigning, trying to look for an opening. And if that time Araujo is just standing and looking, Katlyn can land 2 or 3 or just throw 2 or 3, stay away from the counter. She's going to get ahead on the numbers. And Araujo likes to throw with her opponents, but with Katlyn having a 5-inch height advantage, if she can use her jab or front kick, she may be able to land and not get hit. And when Vivi gets tired, then Katlyn could start to walk her down and go forward more, pressure. It seems like Araujo doesn't do as well with pressure. And, man, I mean, this is a very close competitive fight, in my opinion. I see a lot of people picking Vivi Araujo pretty confidently. And I'm actually going to go the other way because I feel like, when Araujo's doing a lot of that waiting, a lot of girls let her off the hook because of her power and just they're not really technically good enough to make her pay for that. But I feel like Katlyn Chookagian is going to be able to make her work when she doesn't want to work, land land shots and use her movement, kind of similar to how Jessica I did. Land, get out, not let Araujo kind of get her counters going, not let her get her confidence going. And I think that she's just going to be able to put in another kind of Chookagian type performance where she just out volumes the girl, lands a little bit more. Maybe Araujo lands the better shots and people are all pissed off. But, I think that Katlyn Chookagian is going to be able to implement a similar game plan and get it done. I see some people thinking that Araujo is going to wrestle in this fight, get on top. But like I said, I feel like people underestimate Katlyn's grappling. I think that, she has some of the best jiu-jitsu in the division. And I do believe that if she gets on top, she's going to have much more success against Araujo than Araujo is going to have if she gets on top of Katlyn. So I also think Katlyn has more ways to win. She has the better cardio. She's fought against different type of styles, whereas Vivi Araujo I feel like is more green in terms of that. Hasn't really fought a lot of high-level opponents. Hasn't fought super high-level fighters. And I do feel like the height advantage is going to help Katlyn as well, where she's going to have a 5-inch height advantage. So give me Katlyn Chookagian in this fight to get it done via decision. All right, here we go, man. I mean, we got Tony Ferguson versus Beneil Dariush. If anyone's been watching my channel or knows about me, Tony, he's one of my favorite fighters. I don't really have a lot of, at this point, doing, this betting thing, YouTube thing. I don't really have a ton of fighters that I, have an affinity towards really anymore, or a lot of them. But, man, Tony Ferguson, I'm always, I'm sure a lot of people are going to say I'm biased in the pick and blah, blah, blah. So, right away I'm going to say I'm picking Tony to get the win. And, I know everyone's picking Dariush. It seems that almost everyone is picking Dariush this week. But, it is what it is, man. If I'm going to go down with the ship, we're going to go down with the ship. So I'm going to go with Tony in this fight. I really do think it's kind of a little bit wild, though. People are just riding him off so bad. He did lose 2 fights in a row, right? So he lost, obviously, to Justin Gaethje. He lost Charles Oliveira. But, there was a lot of insinuating circumstances in those fights that were not really good for Tony. When he fought Justin Gaethje, he obviously wasn't training to fight Justin Gaethje at all. He had the fight of his life taken away from him again for, the 5th or the 6th time. So it's, definitely probably wasn't 100% going into that fight mentally or anything like that. And, yeah, he had a bad performance, but he still almost went 5 full rounds with Justin Gaethje, a guy that I think would kill Beneil Dariush a lot quicker if Benny didn't get it to the ground. And, he was able to drop Justin Gaethje at one point in that fight. And if there was 10, 15 more seconds in that second round, maybe Tony would have got the win in that fight and a lot of things would have been different. But then, he takes the fight on 3 weeks' notice with Charles Oliveira where, he didn't have a full training camp for that fight. And I think it's kind of just... it's a realization where it's in that fight he didn't have a good corner. He didn't really have a good training camp. He's talked about that already. And I feel like he kind of, I don't know, it wasn't a good performance, and it wasn't I don't think he prepared himself the best. I don't think he had the right people behind him. I don't think he really was doing all the right things, leading up to that fight. So, he didn't look good there, and obviously got taken down, controlled, and now people are just writing him off like he's completely done. But, you see him now in this camp. He's had a full training camp for this fight. He's had a long time to prepare for this one. It's going to be with the fans back in the arena, which I think is something that a lot of people aren't really talking about. That's a big thing, especially with the guy like Beneil Dariush that likes to bring it too. The energy is going to be there, man. And it's going to be in Houston. There's going to be a lot of Mexicans there. It's going to be probably super pro Tony. People are going to be going crazy. That energy and kind of that weird hysteria, kind of all the hype, that is more, pro Tony as well, in my opinion. And I just think Tony's going to come in here and he's going to, put his best foot forward, look a little bit better in this fight. And Beneil Dariush, he's on a 6-fight winning streak. He's coming off that big win over CDF, the biggest win in that streak. But, there's some fights in there where he kind of, pulled the wind out of his ass, man. When he's fighting Jacare close, he has that first round where he has his back the whole round. The second round, he's looking real dicey. His legs are kind of dead. He's getting lit up, and then just goes into brawl mode, catches the guy, knocks him out. But when you're brawling like that, walking forward, it becomes a 50-50 fight at that point. When he fought Scott Holtzman, the same kind of thing happened where they're just brawling. All of a sudden, he throws a spinning back fist, knocks him out. And, all these things are awesome. When he fights Drew Dober, he gets dropped, hurt in that first round. He's able to kind of recover, rebound, get the takedown, get the finish. But he's having performances as well against lower level guys, not even on Tony Ferguson's level, where he's having to battle through a lot of significant adversity as well. And it's not like, he's just running through these guys like with no resistance. So Dariush is also a guy that's been in the UFC forever, man. I mean, he's been putting it down. He's an underrated guy. Obviously, everyone knows the mystique of Tony, being the former UFC champion, everything like that, 12-fight win streak, so many performance bonuses. But Beneil Dariush has some allure as well. He's been in war after war in the UFC. He's had great performances. He's had bad performances. He's battled back. So Dariush is someone you really have to respect as well, and he's deserving of this spot. But, I do feel like, I think that a lot of people are kind of starting to overrate Beneil Dariush a bit, because, he is on a 6-fight win streak. He's a good striker. He's a southpaw. He has that power straight left hand. He has the left hook left kick that he goes to, the power left kick. And, in my opinion, in this fight, you should look for the teeps up the middle, the leg kicks. Maybe try to look for, big hooks on the inside. Maybe try to walk Tony onto that straight left. But, Beneil Dariush, man, to me, he doesn't really have good footwork. He's flat-footed. He has his hands completely down, and bad distance control. He has good head movement. But, he backs up, he leans back, hands down, and when he gets hit, he gets hit flush, man. That's why he's been slept, multiple times. And, if you look at this matchup with Tony Ferguson versus Beneil Dariush, I know a lot of people don't see Tony Ferguson as like a huge puncher, but he has some low-key power, man. And if you look at the recent guys that Beneil Dariush has been fighting, none of these guys really are known as power punchers. Frank Camacho, Jacare Close, Scott Holtzman, CDF. None of these guys are really power punchers. The last power puncher he fought was Drew Dober, who almost got him out of there. So, I do feel like his striking is a little bit overrated, man. I feel like Tony is going to have the advantage on the feet. He's southpaw as well, but he'll switch stances. He has a 4-inch reach advantage and kind of that kinetic, crazy style. Obviously, we all kind of know Tony's style where he, tries to kind of force himself in a boxing range behind the jab, attack a lot of left hooks, uppercuts. He has really nice straight elbows, really good elbows on the inside, spinning attacks. And I feel like he has better defense. A lot of people talk about Tony's defense being really terrible, but he has good head movement himself. He rolls with punches. He parries punches well. I think his defense is better than Tony's, or better than Benny's, and he has good front kicks, good body kicks, which I think is going to be available because I think Beneil's going to be kind of circling to that right side. So I do feel like he kind of needs to maybe throw those kicks at the right range, though, because sometimes he can get countered and dropped off the kicks. But I do feel like, they're going to be available for him here. I think that in the pocket, he's just sharper. He has the faster hands, the better footwork, the better distance control. Longer reach, the more dangerous weapons. He needs to kind of try to use the straight elbows, sharp elbows. And, Beneil Dariush also does a lot of dipping and ducking, so like he'll come forward hands down. And like I said, he uses a lot of head movement, upper body movement to avoid shots. So if he dips, try to land one of those big uppercuts. We've seen him drop Justin Gaethje with an uppercut. We've seen him knock out some other guys with the uppercut. So definitely think that's going to be there. And obviously, I think Dariush is going to be trying to grapple in this fight. I don't really see him trying to strike. If he does, I think Tony's going to light him up and dice him up. But, I think he's going to try to get the body lock, get into the double underhooks, drag Tony to the ground. And on top, Dariush has some of the best jiu-jitsu in the sport. He's a really good back taker. His mat returns are really good. And, in this fight, he just doesn't want to stick around in that guard of Tony because Tony has those really sharp elbows in his guard. He has, some dangerous weapons in there. But if he can pass his guard like Charles Oliveira did, kind of get into that side control and wet blanket him, that's kind of what he wants to do. I feel like Beneil Dariush, though, if you listen to his build-up into this fight, he's talking about being crazier than Tony, out-crazying him, and he's a brawler, man. He gets in a lot of crazy fights. I think with the fans, starts to get real loud in there. They're going crazy. It's a fight of the night. But Beneil Dariush fights, like, fuck it, kind of start working into Tony's game, and it could be a real fun fight. But, Tony, I feel like his anti-grappling is going to be more on point in this fight. They're going to be in the bigger octagon as well, which I think is going to help. In the last one with Charles Oliveira, they were in the small cage, didn't give as much room for Tony for his sprawls, for his movement, for his, rolls, things like that. And I feel like, in that fight with Charles Oliveira, man, I just feel like he was kind of waiting too much on the ground, and you could tell like when Charles passed his guard, he didn't really have much for him from that when he went into side control. Charles was just able to kind of just control him from there. But, I do feel like he said that he's worked a lot more on his grappling and jiu-jitsu for this fight. And I feel like in this one, he needs to work the leg locks, that CDF did versus Dariush. Dariush wasn't really able to control CDF very much because of that. Try to work, the butterfly guard, get back up to your feet, maybe throw some elbows, but don't try to throw submissions up because that's how you get your guard passed, and that's where Benny can just kind of lay on you and win the fight. I do feel like, if he could stuff a takedown, get Benny on all fours, obviously that Darce is always there. He could get it. His sick cardio, his pressure, his volume, his durability, man, just his recoverability, the power that he packs is all going to be something that Beneil has to deal with. And it's going to be, if it was 5 rounds, I'd be more confident that Tony would get it done because Beneil is a guy that does get tired in fights, slows down after that first round. And, if he can't get it to the ground in this fight, if he starts getting his takedown stuffed, I think he's going to get finished in these later rounds. I feel like people are, this is the hardest puncher that Beneil Dariush has faced in a long time. And, I'm going to go with Tony Ferguson, man. So you guys could all hate on me or do whatever. I don't really care. It is what it is. We'll see what happens. And, but I'm going with Tony Ferguson to get the fight done, to finish the fight. And I think he's going to be kind of back in the mix after this one. But I feel like people are kind of just throwing dirt on him, man. It's recency bias at its finest, and we'll see what's up. If he comes out here as another really bad performance, I'm always going to be, a fan for life of Tony, but it's like, maybe at that point you kind of have to reevaluate a lot. But it's like, at this point, we'll see. The fans are back. Everything's back. We're going to be moving and grooving. We'll see what happens. So Tony's going to get it done, and he'll get the win. And finally, we got the main event here. We got Charles Oliveira taking on Michael Chandler. And, man, what an awesome fight for sure. We got Du Bronx, who's one step away from the ultimate goal, the UFC title. And he's seen it all at this point. This is going to be his 27th time he walks to the octagon. He's won 8 fights in a row, 7 finishes. Just looks absolutely phenomenal on the feet, on the ground, everywhere. Just super dangerous. He's going to have the height and reach advantage in this fight, which he uses very well. And his opponent, Michael Chandler, he's in a pretty unique position. One UFC fight, he's already fighting for the title. And even though he has one fight in the UFC, he's no spring chicken. He's competed in 11 Bellator title fights. He's 6-5 in those fights. And this is clearly the best opportunity of his career, or the biggest opportunity as well. I'm sure he's coming in tip-top shape. He's won 3 fights in a row by first-round knockout. He brutally knocked out Dan Hooker in his first fight. And, he was able to kind of show that, he has the ability to work in the UFC and those bright lights. It didn't slow him down whatsoever, so it's awesome to see that. But, for Charles Oliveira, he has kind of a Muay Thai style. He stands tall, and, he kind of tries to accentuate his reach. He has a really good front teep to the body, and, really good knees. He'll work that front knee, really good straight punches. He's light on his feet. He has good movement, good footwork. I feel like he's kind of like definitely the smoother guy, especially as the fight goes on. He's going to want to work the leg kicks in this fight. He has really nice outside leg kicks. He has a really good uppercut to overhand right or right hook combination. Really stinging, accurate straight right hand. Good check left hook. He throws real nice lead elbows. Like I said, he has nice step in knees to the body. Good spinning back kicks. And he'll throw spinning back fist, round kicks. Spinning, jumping kicks. He's very, very, wild, but he's willing to do that because he just doesn't care about going to the ground. Keeps a high guard, and he does stand tall, which does leave him susceptible to some body attacks, which maybe Chandler will go to, try to get inside, attack the body at first, drop Charles's hands, then go up top. Donald Cerrone and Anthony Pettis have been able to hurt Oliveira to the body, but he has 8 knockouts. He's definitely leveled up his striking, Charles. His chin is pretty good, and, obviously, like I said, his body is kind of worn out on him before, and he's had another fight where he suffered an injury against Max Holloway, but he hasn't been finished by strikes very many times, and he's the most dangerous submission artist in UFC history. 14 submissions, really strong wrestler, man. I mean, he actually has really good double legs, really good duck unders in the clinch, double underhooks. He'll dump his opponents. Really good Muay Thai clinch. Obviously he doesn't even need the takedown to get a submission. He'll jump on guillotines, darces, anacondas. He'll jump on the back. His rear naked chokes are excellent. Man, I mean, when he gets an arm under that chin, you're in big trouble. And when you take him down, I mean, he just has excellent leg locks, man. Sick leg locks, sick triangles, arm bars. He's always making you work. He has great sweeps. You saw even a guy like Kevin Lee, who has excellent top control, wasn't able to control him at all. I will say, Charles Oliveira has had fights at 145 where he's gotten tired and been submitted, but I don't really see him getting submitted in this fight at all. I think that, more danger for him is going to be on the feet, obviously. Michael Chandler, he's a good striker, but he did have some trouble with the striking style of Goiti Yamauchi, who I believe is kind of similar, but not even close to as refined as Oliveira. Yamauchi has a long, wiry frame. He throws a lot of kicks, and he rocked Chandler with a lead leg side kick to the face. Yamauchi did a good job of attacking with some 1-2s as well. To me, Michael Chandler, his chin is a little bit questionable. He's 35 years old. He's been in a lot of wars already. He was hurt pretty badly with a short left hook against Brent Primus. He got quickly put out by Patricio Pitbull. He'd already taken a lot of damage in the wars against guys like Will Brooks, Eddie Alvarez. Chandler is super dangerous, though, especially early on. He throws absolute hammers. He probably has some of the most raw power in that 155-pound division, and he's very fast, explosive, light on his feet, and he just bounces in and out of range. He has a decent jab, but, in this fight, I think he's going to want to try to use his straight right hand. He loves to throw that straight right hand left hook in combination. And he's excellent at, when fighters lean back to get out of the way of that left hook or the straight right, he just comes with the hook and just touches them. They don't see it coming. You'll switch stances to get more extension on that hook. Very explosive. He closes distance very quickly. And, he got a nasty knockout with straight left hand from southpaw when he fought Benson Henderson. When he fought Dan Hooker, he landed that left hook from southpaw, and he'll throw the straight right hand to the body, and he uses the body shots to set up his level changes. In this fight, I think he might use the body shots to set up his shots up top as well. And when he gets fighters back to the cage, he'll throw nasty straights and hooks to the body, nice kicks as well, good round kicks to the body. He will overextend on his punches, though. He definitely falls into counters. He can load up, and fighters can touch him with a jab or a straight shot, kind of make him reset. He also has had issues with leg kicks. Brett Primus ended his first fight due to leg kicks, and obviously, he's even got his leg hurt in the second fight against Brett Primus with some low kicks. In his fight with Benson Henderson, he struggled with those front knees to the body, which Charles Oliveira is actually very good at. So, that's something that Chandler has to worry about. He can't overextend on his shots because Charles is going to make him pay. And I do think that Chandler is much better when he can go forward and be the guy bossing the fight. Whereas in this fight, with Charles having a 5-inch reach advantage, being a forward pressure guy, I think he's going to, be the guy walking down Chandler, and Chandler's going to have to figure out how to get on the inside of that. I don't think it's going to be the same type of fight like Dan Hooker kind of moving away the whole time. And, when Chandler gets a little bit more tired, he's not a good of a striker. He's relying on athleticism, power, speed. He definitely becomes more vulnerable because his movement slows. He can get stuck on the outside. His shots, don't come in as fast. He's not as sharp, and he's not as powerful. In this fight, I kind of feel like he's going to try to grapple, man. You saw in his fight against Goiti Yamauchi, he grappled heavy in that fight. He grapples heavy in a lot of his 5-round fights, and he's a former Missouri wrestler in college. His submission defense is very good. His blast double is very good, and he can just chain wrestle against the cage. And when he gets on top, he isn't a big guard passer, but he's very aggressive with his ground and pound from inside the guard. He is excellent at staying safe on top, and he's great guard. He has does a good job of staying safe even against great guard players. He grinds him out. He avoids the submission. He did that against Goiti Yamauchi. It's a similar matchup. He's a long rangy. He's fighting a long rangy fighter with submission skills, but Yamauchi, isn't even close in my opinion to as good as Drew Bronx on the feet. And even on the ground, I think Drew Bronx is a little bit better. But Yamauchi is kind of like the Drew Bronx of Bellator. He has their record for the most submissions. And, Michael Chandler was able to take him down and, really avoid everything. His hips are really good, so it's just hard to kind of throw up throw up submissions on him. Even against Brent Primus, he was able to do the same thing, who's a pretty good BJJ player as well. He's never been submitted in his career, and his takedown defense is amazing, man. His scrambling ability is amazing. I find it hard to see Charles taking him down, especially early, unless he just times a perfect shot. And, early on, Chandler's definitely going to be extremely dangerous. I mean, I think he's going to try to, maybe get in Charles's face right away and look for that knockout. I think kind of his best chance to win is that first shot knockout, because I really do feel like, Chandler slows down. Oliveira might slow down a little bit, but I think when two guys slow down, the technique, the skills are going to, more rue the day, whereas I think that, Oliveira is the much more skilled guy. He's better on the feet. He has a better array of strikes, in my opinion, more technical. He's sharper. Chandler, he's more, of an exploder, power guy. He does a good job switch stance, nice tricky combinations, but he makes a lot more mistakes. He's a lot more hittable. He puts himself in bad positions, more like overextending, throwing himself out of range. And, I feel like Charles is going to be able to exploit a lot of that, touch him up. And I think that, he could even get an early finish or, kind of wait till Chandler loses a little bit of explosiveness and then, maybe hurt him on the feet. But I feel like, Chandler maybe is going to feel like he could take down Charles do Bronx early, or maybe even, in the middle of that first round. And I think when he takes him down, Charles is going to threaten with a lot of leg attacks. I think he's going to be able to either sweep or get back up to his feet or really threaten Chandler and make Chandler uncomfortable and stand up. And I think Chandler is going to kind of lose some confidence from that. And then I think Charles is going to start to walk him down. I think he's going to start to really, put it on him a little bit with the long strikes, the leg kicks, with the counter twos, with the front knees up the middle, mixing it up well. And I think Chandler's going to kind of get overwhelmed. And I think Charles is going to finish Chandler. I think he's going to get the belt, man. I have a lot of faith in Charles Oliveira in this fight. I feel like he's going to get it done inside the distance. I really feel like Charles Oliveira, he's really looked incredible, man. I mean, a lot of people want to keep going back to his early fights way, way back in his career, but he's kind of grown up through our eyes, in the UFC. Like I said, he's had 27 fights in the UFC, so you're going to have some bad performances, some good performances, and more recently, I mean, he's put it all together. He's looked absolutely fantastic. He's a guy that trains out of Houston, so I'm sure, even though Chandler is going to be the guy from the U.S., he's going to have some fans there cheering for him, putting it on for him there as well. So, the crowd isn't going to be all on Chandler's side. And I just feel like Charles is going to have the range. He's going to be the slicker, much better striker on the feet. And I think unless Michael Chandler kind of catches him early, I know I said this similar thing against Dan Hooker, and he ended up catching him early, so it's possible. But, for him to get 4 first-round knockouts in a row, get a first-round knockout over Charles do Bronx Oliveira, who, hasn't been finished in the first round since 2011, I feel like it's probably not going to happen. I just got a feeling that, I think that Chandler does have a chance to get that first round finish, but if it doesn't happen, it's going to go downhill for him. And do Bronx is going to be able to start to take over and potentially finish the fight himself. So I'm going to go with do Bronx, Charles Oliveira to get UFC gold, and it's going to be fun, man. I think he deserves it, and I think, he's going to put himself right there as, one of the better fighters in UFC history if he can claim the title. And as far as the parlay of the week for this one, I don't really have a confident parlay, so I'm just going to give you guys a play. Charles Oliveira wins inside the distance. It's plus 115. And for the underdog picks of the week, I'm going to be giving you guys Edson, Barboza, Sean Soriano for my most confident pick on the card. Man, I mean, it's a tough one for that. I guess I'm going to go with Gina Mazany, potentially, I suppose. And there you have it, guys. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I want to get to 300 likes on this one, so that would be awesome if you guys could all hit that like button. I want to see a few comments as well, so hopefully you guys could comment down below, be interactive with the video. I would really appreciate that. And yeah, man, like always, I got the Patreon if you want to support the channel even further. Definitely not necessary, but I really appreciate it. And, thank you to everyone that is over there on the Patreon. We've been doing pretty well recently. We didn't do super well on the UFC last week, but we made some money still on the weekend, and we've, cashed quite a bit recently for the Patreon members over there. We're going to be having some different events this weekend as well. LFA, I might look at Titan a little bit, so there might be a few bets, maybe a video that I drop on Patreon for all my Patreon members over there. And if you want to, be involved, check it out, then you definitely, should go check it out. It'll be in the description. I'll probably put it in the comments below as well. But, yeah, guys, other than that, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys later.